I believe we'll all remember Jim for the great work he did. I want to say something special about President Johh Fox. He and I share a profession. We are both writers. And I want to say that writers are very creative people. We think with the end in mind. So you have a great leader in John. I'm sure he'll lead you to great heights as the president of the club. So John, well done. Thank you. I also want to recognize the efforts of very special people who we lent to this baby club. That's past President George Mathenge. George, where are you? George has been very instrumental and our ambassador in this club. So I hope you're coming back home. He needs a visa from me. He has been technically the midwife of this pregnancy. So well done, George. I also want to make a special mention to Joe Otin. Joe? Joe is a very special person because he introduced me to Rotary. So Joe, you have a special place in my heart. So thank you, well done. Joe has been the driving force involved in the formation of this club. So ladies and gentlemen, I hope you have a nice evening. Enjoy the band. And I now want to take this opportunity to invite past President Paul Mwai, who is the district TRF fundraising chairman, to pay a special tribute to Jim Wilson. Thank you and enjoy your evening.
It is indeed a great honor for me to pay a tribute to my dear friend Jim Wilson. It's particularly special to me because unfortunately Jim passed away when I was not around, when I was out of the country, and I never got a chance to say my goodbyes in a way. So thank you very much all for being here today. I'd like to first of all say my apologies. Some apologies from Jim's wife, Jane Wilson, who could not be here today. She happens to have been graduating today from university, so it's actually a very special moment for her. Today also happens to be Mr. Wilson Senior, Annie Wilson, who you all probably have met, 88th birthday. So it's actually a very special day for the Wilson family. But I'd also like to recognize the presence of Jim's brother-in-law, Ian, who's come all the way from Australia to be with us here today. Now, let me talk about my good friend Jim. You're wondering why the TRF chair is the one talking about Jim Wilson. It's not because I'm the TRF chair. He was actually a very good friend of mine. I met Jim 26 years ago at the University of Southern Queensland. We studied the same course. We did banking and finance in university. And we had very special moments, both in college, when he came to Kenya. He actually came to Kenya to be my best man at my wedding. And he never left. I'd always see him off. Thanks, Jim. Yeah, I think he went off overland, and every time he'd come back. I think the African bug got him, and he really enjoyed his stay in Kenya, and he decided to settle here. I was also honored to have been best man at his wedding, so I happened to have the honor of reciprocating the nasty best man jokes. But Jim was a good. I'm going to talk about Jim on perhaps 4 phases of Jim. I'm going to talk about Jim, the entrepreneur and the farmer. There are some things you might not know about Jim. Jim was a proprietor of Sharo Meats at Lavington Shopping Center. And Jim was very passionate about entrepreneurship. He set up that butchery, and I saw his passion and his interest in perfectionism. You'd be surprised, it was not actually just a butchery, it was actually a whole meat processing plant. And he bought the equipment from South Africa. He chose everything meticulously. he was a perfectionist in what he did. He did things very well, and we will remember for that. The other part that you might not know about Jim is that Jim, after university, worked with his dad at the farm. He had an 8,000-acre farm in Jandawi, which is in the Darling Downs in Australia. And many Kenyans might not appreciate it, will really appreciate this. Jim, his dad, and one employee looked after a farm of 8,000 acres. Can you imagine that? So Jim was actually a very hard worker in his days, fixing fences, doing all kind of manual work that you would not imagine, driving bulldozers, tractors, herding cows on horses. He's done it all. So we really remember him as the entrepreneur. The other part of Jim that I will remember is Jim, the family man. Jim was very passionate about his family. He loved his wife, Jane, very passionately, and his son, Travis. And he spoke passionately about them every time he had an opportunity. Whenever we were with him, he was telling me what Jane is up to, what Travis is up to in school. And that was Jim, the family man. Really always looking out for his family. The other thing that you might not know about Jim is that Jim was actually a very good cook. He loved cooking, and one of the things that he often left us when we were having a drink, we would say is like, I'm going home because I'm cooking today. He loved to do that. So that was a very interesting part of Jim. Then I'm going to talk about Jim, the friend to many of us. When Jim came to Kenya, he had two friends, me and a friend of mine called Andrew Karanja, who we were in university together with. And at his engagement party to Jane, I saw a full house of people who I never even knew. After so many years, he had made so many good friends, and I know many of you are his good friends. He loved people, he loved being with people, and he enjoyed. And finally, I'm going to talk about Jim, the Rotarian. Jim was a passionate Rotarian. Interesting enough, Jim did not introduce me to Rotary, Johh did. I didn't even know Jim was a Rotarian, but it tells great minds think alike, because we all ended up as Rotarians. Jim was 3 times president of the Rotary Club of Jandawi. Anybody who has served president for 3 years, please put your hands up. I think Peter Mbui has done 2 years. That's the best we can get from the house. So you must take your hat off, because Jim served 3 years as president of the Rotary Club of Jandawi. He came to Kenya and joined the Rotary Club of Nairobi East, and served there passionately for a number of years. I think because of the distance between Lavington and Nairobi East's Nairobi Club, his passion was fading slightly, and the trip was, he was kind of a bit absent. And when Johh started talk about the Rotary Club of Lavington, he came to me and he asked me, you know Jim well, do you think he'd make a good person to start up the Rotary Club of Lavington? And I told him, Jim, you have 2 choices. He'll either tell you, no, I'm not going to do it, or yes, I'm going to do it. And when he does it, he puts his whole heart into it. And that's exactly what he did. So we recognize Jim for the hard work that he's done to set up this club as the Rotary Club of Nairobi, of Lavington. Sorry. He was a passionate Rotarian, and I think today we stand at the gates of the Promised Land, and think back to great leaders who didn't see the Promised Land, Martin Luther, Moses. I think Jim also would have loved to have seen the Promised Land, but was not able to see that today. But I'm sure wherever he is, he's happy that his hard work has come to fruit, to be seen today. please give yourself a big clap. So we will remember Jim as a passionate, loving father, a businessman, a hardworking man, but more we will remember him as a passionate Rotarian who did what he did very dedicatedly. Interesting enough, when Jim passed on, Jim was my friend, but it was Johh who told me that Jim was unwell. The reason being that at that point Rotary was the biggest thing in his life. And indeed, the last people that Jim talked to, other than his immediate family, was Johh and Johh Fox. So at the time he passed on, this was the #1 passion in his life. So I say, let us celebrate Jim's life and remember him for all the good things that he's done. And with that, I would like to propose a toast to Jim Wilson. And I'd like to request you all be upstanding. And preferably, if anyone can, please hold a drink with the initials JW. That was his favorite drink. To James Wilson.
Ladies and gentlemen, let me quickly introduce myself. I'm a complete stranger to some of you. My name is Bimal Kantaria. I'm the current district governor of our district, which is 9212. It's an honorary title. I'm the district governor for 1 year. I took over from 1st July and I finished 30th June. So we've finished 5 months now, and about 7 months to go. Fellow Rotarians, my friend PLO Lumumba and Mrs. Lumumba, various past district governors in the room, Muhammad, Eric, Gita Ben, various presidents in the room, various presidents of clubs in the room, various district and country offices in the room, fellow Rotarians, ladies and gentlemen. I do want to welcome all of you for this wonderful evening this evening. You all have to agree with me, this doesn't look like a school hall. When I used to go to school, my school hall was a crummy old place, but if you look at this place, it looks like a drama studio or a really nice hotel. So I want to say thank you very much to our hosts this evening, to President Carol and President John, for bringing us to a wonderful evening this evening. I particularly like the chairs. I know you went to a special effort to get us VIP chairs this evening too. Obviously you went to a great deal of trouble getting extremely special chairs for us this evening, so thank you very much indeed. I do want to recognize a number of people in the room. I want to recognize the presence of Assistant Governor Tej Shah for mentoring this club over the last few months. I do want to recognize the presence of my District Governor Special Representative Johh and George Matenga. Both of you, thank you very much for taking over the reins once obviously past President Jim fell ill. So I want to thank both of you for stepping in his shoes very quickly and carrying on with the great work he's doing. I do also want to pay tribute to my friend Jim. Jim and I have known each other for many, many years. And one of the things we often talked about, Johh and I and Jim, was Lavington, and was the common factor in all our conversations is how far is Lavington going, where are you going to charter it? And one of the last things Jim and I spoke about, and I think I better do it now, is I have this year a District Governor's Award. So any person who charters a new club this year, I make him a Paul Harris. I'll come to in a minute what Paul Harris is. And the last thing Jim did, which is obviously exactly what Jim is all about, and I asked him, Jim, I'm going to make you a Paul Harris, and for Rotarians who know what Paul Harris is the highest honor I can give to a Rotarian. And I asked Jim, you've started this club and I'm going to make you a Paul Harris. And he said, no, DG, I don't want to I'm happy being where I am, but I do want to give my Paul Harris to the President John Fox, so, which is a wonderful, wonderful tribute. John, why don't you come forward and I'm going to pin you the Paul Harris pin. If you come forward, please. For non-Rotarians, the Paul Harris pin is the highest award you can do in Rotary. You can become in Rotary. There's a special pin to it. This is called the Paul Harris pin, and I'll explain to you who Paul Harris is in a minute. But I do want to, so that we do the right things at the right time manner, right? Got to do it. I'm going to pin, on behalf of Jim Wilson, this Paul Harris pin to you, President John. And many, many congratulations. So I do want to congratulate John and Carol for giving birth to such a wonderful club. The Rotary Club of Lavington, as you know, took a long time in formation. Usually we chart the clubs in 3 to 4 months, and we've done a number of them this year. But the Lavington Club took time, and I think it's special because of the time it took. Because now you have a wonderful club in your hands. I think this is one of the finest clubs we have in our district, for two particular reasons. Yeah. For two particular reasons. One is that I think you have a fantastic mix of people. I think if you look around the room, it really is a rainbow club. We call them rainbow clubs in Kenya, don't we? We all know what that means, but it's a wonderful mix of people. You have old and new, you have different professions in this club. So that's a wonderful way of starting a Rotary Club. The second thing I really find fascinating is you haven't stopped growing. You know, you're a new baby, but you still keep growing. And I think yesterday you inducted 5 new Rotarians in one go. Isn't that, yeah, Paul, isn't that a fabulous thing to do? That a young club like this is now 47 members. Isn't that right? 47 members. 5, my goodness. Which is really a record. I mean, usually what happens when new clubs form is that they take time to start, and then they struggle a little bit, and then they fall in numbers, and then they grow again. But this club, it seems to be growing. I think that, John, is particularly to your leadership. I've been talking to members of the Lavington Club this evening, and they all say, that man Fox, he writes nicely in the newspapers, but he's also a wonderful chap in real life as well. So John, congratulations. I think you have a fine club in your hands. President Carol, keep up the good work. You do know that starting a club is the easy part, but between Joe and yourself and George, you really need to keep mentoring this club. This is going to be one of the finest clubs I think we have in our district, and you need to just keep it pushing. I do want to recognize the presence of Ian here. Ian, your brother, was a fine man. And in his memories, what I want to do is I want to, on his behalf, I want to give you a Rotary pin as well. It's a light up Rotary pin. And I want you to wear it with pride in remembrance of your brother. With all our heart, we say thank you very much to all the wonderful work he did. I also want to recognize the presence of PLO, Honorary Rotarian PLO Lumumba. Now you all know what a great orator he is, right? We've all seen him during the last Constitution review. He was amazing orator. We made him an Honorary Rotarian in the Rotary Club of Mathaiga. And I know he comes very often sometimes, and sometimes he doesn't come. So, Bona PLO, I want you to come forward. I want to give you a pin, because you aren't wearing a Rotary pin, which is a shame. But I do want to give you a special pin, because it's a light up Rotary pin. And I want you to wear this with pride this Shimza. This pin is very important. If you don't wear the Rotary pin, at least wear this. This is called the End Polio pin, End Polio Now. Obviously, you know, polio is our big worldwide campaign to eradicate it. And I hope you wear this with pride, sir. There are lots and lots of non-Rotarians in the room and lots of new Rotarians in the room. So let me give you quickly a background on what Rotary is. Somebody asked me, my friend Mohammed at the back, he goes, Bimal, I've been to Lions and I've been to Giants and I've been to Kiwanis and I've been to all these other organizations. What makes Rotary different? Let me quickly tell you the difference between Rotary, which is probably the best organization in the world, right? Yes, it is. Mohammed, yes? Yes. And let me tell you the difference between Rotary and all the other organizations. It's something called the 4-way test. You all know what the 4-way test is? All right. The 4-way test is our creed, is what we stand for as Rotarians. It's the 4 things we do we think, we say or do in our day-to-day life. And we try and encourage all Rotarians to at least say it once a day. In every single meeting we go to, we try and encourage all Rotarians before the meeting starts to do the 4-way test and recite the 4-way test. Fellow Rotarians, who's a Rotarian in the room? Can you stand up? I'm going to ask all the Rotarians in the room to stand up, because we didn't do it earlier and I want us to do it together. Are we all ready, Rotarians? The 4-way test are things we think, say, or do. 1, is it the truth? 2, 3, 4. Well done, guys, well done. Now that, my fellow Rotarians and non-Rotarians, is the distinguishing feature of us from all the other organizations in the world. And the reason it is because, like all other organizations, we invite people to join Rotary. You can't just join Rotary. And why that is an important criteria is, we say we take good people and we make them better. I said again, we take good people and we make them better as Rotarians. And what makes us different is the 4-way test. Is it fair to all concerned? Will it be beneficial to all concerned? Because we say to ourselves, if you're a Rotarian, you are reliable, you are trustworthy. You're a man of repute, man or woman, I say in gender sensitive. Because we like to take good people. And once you're a Rotarian, we want you to think about the 4-way test. Every time you wake up in the morning, think, is all the actions that I do, Paula, are they in concurrence with the 4-way test? You give me a banker, you know, sometimes bankers get a bad press, but even bankers can follow the 4-way test, right? And that's the distinguishing factor of us being a Rotarian. The history of Rotary is quite interesting. We were formed in 1905 in Chicago in America by a man called Paul Harris. He was the originator of Paul Harris. And the origins of Rotary are very interesting. The man moved to Chicago in 1905, 23rd February. Didn't know anybody in Chicago. So the man looks in the directory and he invites 3 strangers to his house. Ian, I don't know if you know the history of Rotary. So he invited 3 strangers to his house. One was a mining specialist, one was a coal dealer, and one was a designer. Paul Harris himself was a lawyer. Some lawyers are good, you can say, right? Paul Harris was a good man. And he invited them to his house, had a cup of tea, met 3 strangers and made good friends with 3 friends, right? 3 new people. And they all agreed, let's do this, Piku. I don't know if you know the story. So he said, let's meet next week, the 3 of us. Why don't we all bring a friend along with us? So next week, instead of 4, there were 8. And they agreed to meet every single week, and every single week we bring a new friend along. The only condition is we'd meet the same time at the same day, but we would rotate the venue of the meeting. And that's how the word Rotary came from. That was in 1905. Since then, we are in 200 countries. There are 1.2 million Rotarians in the world in 34,000 clubs. We're the world's largest service organization. In the last 45 years, Rotarians have raised $3.4 billion from individual contributions to give to charity. The #1 project we as Rotarians have decided to undertake, Nana, you know this, is to end polio by 2018. It's the #1 priority for Rotarians that we are going to eradicate polio from the world by 2018. We as Rotarians have raised $1.2 billion in the last 25 years, since 1985, to eradicate polio. We spend money on research, we spend money buying vaccines, we've distributed it. All of you, I'm sure, have taken polio vaccines, haven't you, when you were young? If you've taken polio vaccines, stick your hand up. Let me see who's it. You've all done it. And I bet you didn't know that that vaccine was paid for by Rotarians. Did you know that? Isn't that something we should be proud about as Rotarians? That everybody in this room has had something in their mouths paid for by Rotarians. I mean in the nicest possible way, Joe. Don't laugh too loud, Caroline. So that's our #1 priority. I bet you didn't know that. Did you know that? You knew that? You didn't know that. So anyway, by 2018, we hope to eradicate polio from the world. You won't believe the statistics are quite interesting. There are now, last year, less than 400 cases of polio left in the world. 25 years ago, there was 350,000 polio cases every single year. Last year, there was 400. This year, there's less than 250 polio cases left in the world. And we promised mankind that by 2018, You as Rotarians, we as Rotarians will eradicate polio from the world. And I promise you it's going to happen. Lots of you took part in the polio walk we had a couple of weeks ago. Caroline, did you come for it? You should have come. It was a nice event. It was a wonderful event. We did a walk in 7 cities across across Kenya. 3,500 walkers came. We made a big noise about polio eradication, and the government took notice. You can see there's now lots and lots of polio stuff happening all over the country. Nairobi City Council is doing a big one now. The Ministry of Health is doing a big campaign of vaccinations. Again, it's driven by Rotary in the background. So I think I should congratulate all of you as Rotarians for doing such a great job in eradicating polio. Well done. Let me quickly tell you about this year. This year is a special year. Obviously a special year because I'm a special person, right? So, but let me tell you what this year is all about. This year is a good year. This year we have a number of targets. The number one target is we are going to increase the number of Rotarians in the country. About 6 months ago, Eric and I and a number of Rotarians, senior Rotarians, went to see the First Lady for her Mother and Child project, Mrs. Kenyatta. And we made her a commitment. We said to her, Nana, I don't know whether you were there with us. Well, the next time you have to come. I'm going to break you next time. One thing we did promise Mrs. Kenyatta was that in the next 2 years, we will be a Rotary Club in every single county in this country. And that's going to be our target. So at the end of 2015, we will have a Rotary Club in every single county in this country. And we're working really hard at it. This year alone, in the last 5 months, we have chartered 10 new clubs. 10 new clubs. This is the 10th one, John. Well done.
A lunch for 2 with a 1-hour spa at Elishapai Resort in Naivasha. 5 vouchers for dinner at Tokyo Restaurant. This is number 46. 46. Well, our next prize is a Samsung DVD home entertainment system. Number 12. 1, 2. Full board accommodation for 2 at Olkeri Mara Camp in Masai Mara. 75. Courtesy of Wines of the World, our sponsor tonight. Or should I say my dear? It's Cento Mori, and it's a Cabernet. Come on, 2,000, 3,000, 4,000. I hear 5. Going once, going twice, that's 5,000. Going 3 times. Mr. Andy Hill for 5,000.